So if you're trying to sell high-ticket coaching, then your free Skool community is probably costing you a ton of time and potentially sales with the particular way that you're running it. Now, if you're anything like me, you've probably spent a large amount of time, if not months, DMing people, messaging people, doing posts in your community, trying to nurture, and basically doing all of the things we were taught that we had to do with the community and group model. And it did work. It definitely does work, but it definitely takes a lot of time and energy away from things that could potentially bring in more money and also just make your life much, much easier. So in this video, I'm going to show you the strategy that I wish I had basically been using from day one. So I'm going to show you the strategy and Skool setup that will basically make it much easier for you to generate high ticket clients without spending huge amounts of time in your community. Now, high ticket, especially when it comes to the community model, is a bit like being on a treadmill. We're non-stop having to DM people, nurture people, create posts, chase engagement, and it just feels like almost a full-time job half the time. And really, sort of being a community manager was not really what we set out for. It's not really what we wanted to do, especially if you're a YouTuber or a content creator. That part of it takes a huge amount of time, actually bringing people into the community in the first place. So if you're spending way too much time nurturing your community as well, which is pretty much going to be filled with 95% non-buyers, then this doesn't really sound like a good use of your time. So the focus should be really on purely content, getting as much content, pushing as many people into your system as possible, getting as many people on calls or into the system. That basically is the way that you nurture them, be it, say, Loom videos or chatting in the DMs or getting them on calls. But for most of us, it's going to be getting people on a call and then working with your clients. So working with your clients and making sales is ultimately what we want to do. So it's the three. It's basically 1, 2, 3, content, calls, and clients. That's what we want to be spending most of our time on. But this is actually where I found that my time was going. I was drowning in free members. I had about a 30% conversion rate on my free group, which is fantastic. It's brilliant. It means that it was very congruent. But I was basically spending too much time and giving away too much value. And I think this is a curse. I've actually heard a client say this recently. It's a curse as educators and experts where you want to help people. You want to over-deliver. So therefore, the issue with the free community is that if people start asking questions, we jump into coaching mode and we just start giving away too much value rather than perhaps pushing people towards the paid thing like we should actually be doing in the first place. So we often start to try and give away way too much. And we spend hours and hours with people who are never going to buy. So it's sort of the 80-20 rule where we're actually spending time nurturing mainly non-buyers. So, I mean, that is part of the game. We never expect to convert that many, and it's kind of community service and so on. But if you know that this is basically wasting, say, 80% of your time, then you really want to reduce this part, because if this was spent on content and traffic and calls and clients, then that would be a much better use of what we're actually doing. So my goal was to eliminate as much of that as possible and to basically spend as much time on this part as possible. So the issue, how did we all fall into this in the first place? How did we all get tricked into thinking that we had to run our community in a particular way? And the word that was getting thrown around, and even by myself for a very long time, was engagement. It was that we had to have an engaged community. But what we quickly realized was that not all communities are equal, and pure communities by nature are just the uniting of people around a common goal or topic. And they are coming together for the networking and the actual socializing part. And that's what makes a community. But when you start combining education with community, it's not the same. People are coming for an outcome. They're coming to get a result. And yes, they want to network. Yes, some will stay for the community. And these were taglines that we were told. People come for the desired thing. They stay for the community. Yes, to a degree. But really, is it worth your time trying to build that particular community energy? Especially in free, where most people don't engage, most people don't stay that long. Many people go dormant. It's a bit like an email list. And if you spend huge amounts of time trying to drive up engagement all of the time, you are going to waste time, waste money, and drive yourself insane and start to actually hate the community model. So the idea was always that we needed more engagement and we had to nurture harder. But honestly, some people that you nurture inside eventually become clients, but the majority of them become clients within the first sort of month to 6 weeks. When they've got the momentum, when they first have the intention, the drive, the desire, that's when most of your sales actually happen. So we're actually trying to run a low ticket playbook for a client acquisition business, essentially. So what we're trying to do is we're following the model that everybody's recommending on Skool or whatever community platform you're on for running a community business. But all of that advice is focused around low ticket. And when you try to do it the other way around, it doesn't work as well. And it's just, as we saw, the 80-20 rule, not a good use of your time and energy. So we have to let go of the idea of engagement. We have to say, okay, I'm not trying to grow a low ticket community. In fact, that's not my main focus. I mean, you could be doing both potentially, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you're then getting paid to do the low ticket part. But you're still having to then do a lot of work for a low ticket. And if you've got a small audience, it may not be worth your time and energy trying to get the volume for low ticket. So that's an entirely different video. But we're trying to use low ticket playbook for high ticket sales. Now, obviously, yes, as I said, we could potentially go with low ticket. But for the most part, if you are selling high ticket and that is your goal, then free still wins. Free still wins out overall because you're going to get more people coming into your ecosystem. The door is wider, more people come into the ecosystem, there's more opportunities to sell to them in the future, and you can essentially build an email list at the same time. So we're always talking about building your email list, having more touch points, and a way to basically promote forever, because maybe they don't want this offer, but maybe they will want one of your future offers, and you keep tweaking and making more and more offers to those people. Low ticket on the front end means fewer people coming into that. So it depends on the goal, the volume of what you've got. And again, that's a different story. But as high ticket sellers, we know that if I'm only selling high ticket, free is still the goal. So there's no escaping the free part. You are going to have to be doing a free community. So how can we make it so that we're actually going to be not wasting a huge amount of time? And this is where I started thinking, well, okay, if the idea is to sort of build an email list and treat Skool, as some people say, like Skool is an email list on steroids, then okay, let's treat it like that. If it is an email list on steroids, let's create a community that is more pass-through and is almost run like an email list, where we automate things and we make things much simpler. So I looked at this and I looked at the features inside of Skool and started to see what could we do? What could we do to make this more like a funnel, more like an automated system that would basically take all of that engagement and management stress off of us so that we can focus on content, clients, and calls. So we can focus on those three things that I mentioned before. And this is why I realized that if we actually just had comments only and nobody could post inside, because if you go into the categories, you can actually switch it to admin only, then we can actually turn off posts completely so that only you can post inside. And I've seen a few groups like this and I wasn't quite sure why they were doing this, but now I understand why. So you can actually turn it all off and you can say, right, I'm not even worried about who can post, who can't post, if they need to be a certain level and all of this. I'm actually just going to say, no, I'm going to let most people come in. I'm probably going to be auto-approving and automating things depending on your setup as we get more advanced into this. But you're going to turn it off so that it is basically comments only. Some people will call this the guru model, but that's fine. It's a funnel. An email list is the guru model. It is you talking and people listening. So then you maybe have a main workshop, a main free training, a bit like a webinar, if you will. Webinar, workshop, these things always worked for high ticket, for getting people to potentially book a call. Now, if we do it in Skool, we've got more touch points and it's much cheaper and simpler to use. And we have more flexibility inside. We can still even do the odd live session, emails, and so on. So we have a single workshop that is maybe in the classroom or could even just be on your welcome post. And you could almost just have it so that there's just a welcome post. The classroom and everything else is closed, and they've just got that one single video, and that's it. And then that links to whatever the action is that you want them to take. So you could potentially even use this for perhaps selling low ticket or getting people to do different things. But let's say it's about booking a call. If you would like more help with this, book a call. And the book a call link is under everything. It's under the training, it's at the side, and people can ask questions about that particular training just below the video. Now, you could have maybe a small training in the classroom if you wanted and have more posts, but I would keep it really, really simple. And we could actually then send out, we've got the couple of messages that we can send out to everyone that signs up twice a week. So you could actually be sharing your YouTube videos in there or doing a couple of marketing style posts that are almost like emails that you're sending out twice per week. So we can utilize that in Skool. So we have a simple setup where it is one workshop and it's the book a call. And the idea is to get people off of the system and to book that call. And that's it. There's no posting. They're only coming back for the odd. And what happens is people don't turn notifications off for your group because it's not overwhelming. They basically come inside, they see there's just 1 or 2 posts a week at most. There's some relevant information in there. There's things happening. You can promote the odd live event and so on, but that's it. It's an email pass through, keeping people up to date. So your whole week becomes 2 posts if you want. You could even just do 1 just to keep it active. And then Skool mass email, as I said, which you can actually schedule. Now, there is tools that we can automate this system more. And I will link to the Skool CRM tool that I actually use to automate this whole process. And I'll link to that in the video description to where you're going to get a 14-day free trial. For me, it's a no-brainer, but you might not want to start with that initially. But it means that you can automate a lot more with a $9 Skool account, and you may not even need the $99 one. So there's pros and cons to it. Yes, you pay for that, but you could save money elsewhere. So then all we have to do is 2 posts. And we can use AI to automate and nurture towards the call in the DMs. So that's where this tool I was talking about, which again I'll link to in the video description, you can actually use it as an AI assistant. Now, I was training this in one of my free groups, and once I was happy with the responses it was given, and I'd given it enough training on the style and the voice and the rules I wanted it to follow. But this is basically where it will actually be handling your DMs for you. It will be doing the auto one where they get a sequence of messages, not just one. And then if they reply to one, the AI takes over and starts answering like it's you, with the goal to get people to book a call, which for me is absolutely insane. And I can tell you now, it was actually answering better than I was when I was using it by the time it was trained. So this was phenomenal because obviously I get a bit tired, you're getting overwhelmed, you're getting faster with the replies that you're doing for people because you're obviously working with clients, so you have so many DMs. But for it to only handle the DMs in that free part, and you can decide based on what you tag people with who it's going to be responding to. So it could just be the people in that particular group, and then if you've got another group, you're doing that all manually because you want to be able to give them a higher level of service. And then you can occasionally do posts inside saying, I've got some spots opening up and so on. And then if you want, a few comment replies and that's it. So other than the odd post, be it two per week or a monthly one as well, promoting what you're doing, answering a few comments, perhaps on those particular posts or the training workshop ones. But we're talking really low maintenance here. We're talking sort of 10 minutes a day with you popping inside to check what's going on. And that is pretty much it. So you have virtually no time in this group. This is not where we're trying to drive any type of engagement, which just makes it much simpler. So when we look at that and we go, well, you got training there, you can ask me questions, you have more access to me, but they're not going to get stuck and free in the same way. There's nothing else for them to look around at. They're not going to look in the training and go, I'll get to that tomorrow. I'm not ready to upgrade because there's still free stuff I haven't done yet. No, it's just simple. There's nothing else in there other than that particular workshop. So a funnel looks like a community. It's basically a funnel that looks a bit like a community. This is basically a simple high-ticket Skool funnel. So as I said, you're not running a community here. You're running a funnel that is being handled in the community. It's, if anything, a bit more like a community workshop or community webinar. And then you reclaim your time for you to be able to do more traffic, more calls, and more client work, which is what we want. And the more of this we can automate with AI, and there's many more advanced things we can do in terms of AI inside, automating responses in the comments and so on to send people DMs or even sending them emails. There's lots more things we can do to automate that entire system to try and get you more calls booked or more free trials or whatever it is that you're trying to get. So actually a quieter group in many cases can lead to a fuller calendar and a lot more time to work on your particular business. So it's just content into free group. We automate the nurturing part, maybe not in the beginning, but ultimately we want to nurture that, and then getting people on calls and just working with your clients. So it's almost, again, like email on steroids with a workshop webinar attached. So as always, if you'd like more help with your group business and your Skool community, then I will link to our group incubator in the video description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.